Merry Christmas, everybody. From our house to your house. It may be 80 degrees outside, but it is still Christmas inside. Hello and happy Vlogmas. Today I'm going to be doing a fabric technique called, a quilting technique called bargello. And since this is my scrappy Christmas and I'm using scraps, I wanted to show you how useful it can be for you. I'm trying to create a runner for my dining room table that I want to be able to use also during, I want a runner for Christmas to display all my snowmen on in the center of the dining room table. And after Christmas Day is over, I want to be able to flip it over and take it to the piano in the sitting room and make it part of my Kwanzaa celebration. So come along and I'll show you that technique, and I'm sure there'll be another Vlogmas on how to make the runner. Now, I first started by getting some fabric scraps together from other projects that had kind of the theme or the color palette of what I wanted my runner to look like. And I have already cut out my runner below here. So I just filled the space with different Christmas and holiday themed fabrics. You could use, like, if your palette in your house is blue or rose gold, you can find the accompanying fabrics that work best with it. But in my dining room, I have a burgundy, gold, with blue background looks. So I chose these fabrics, and I cut them the length of my runner that I'm working on. But the bargello technique can work with any size project you're working. I'm just going to show you the process. You don't have to cut yours exactly this length. It's just learning how to do the process of bargello. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to iron and stitch these fabrics that I put together. I'm going to stitch them on like just a 1/8 inch seam on the side and create this long strip of fabric. Now that everything is stitched together, I'm going to take it to the ironing board and press it to make sure all of these things lay flat. The only advice I would give to you is, because I'm using scrap neon fleece filling, I doubled the white portion so that the yellow wouldn't bleed through in color. Now that we're pressed and ready, we are going to join the ends of this strip you just made, and we're going to stitch one end to the other end and make a tube. This will be a tube, okay? Now here's the fun part. Now you have your tube, and we're going to start to make some cuts and make our bargello. Now, one of the things you need to consider when you're making your bargello is if you're making your fabric to fit a certain project, we're going to be cutting this into strips. You have to make sure that you make your piece wide enough to accommodate the seam allowances that you create when you make each cut, because it would be terrible to do this whole bargello and when it is pieced together, which you'll see in a few minutes, the piece has gotten so small that it's gotten so narrow it doesn't fit on the project that you have created it. So first thing, I'm going to trim off. I'm using a gridded curable mat, so I'm going to trim off the excess, which can always happen when you are putting together these different strips. Now, you don't have to throw these pieces away. I have something you can use them for, but we'll talk about that at another day. All right, so I have decided that this is a 12-inch wide piece of bargello, and I'm going to cut my strips 2 inches wide. So I'm going to end up with 6 cuts. Now here comes some of the fun part. Now you have all these strips and you can decide what bargello pattern you want. Bargello is a staggering method that you place your strips in, then you can figure out what kind of design that you would like it to make. So I'll do a mini bargello for you and then I'll decide. You might decide you want a staggered, step looking kind of bargello, or maybe you want an undulating design bargello. It's up to you. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let me turn all these pieces around. If I just wanted a step bargello, I would match up one of these colors, like say this one right here, and then I would put this one a little bit below it, and then I would put this one a little bit below that, if you can kind of see where I'm going with this, and then I could put this one a little bit down here, right, and this one a little bit down here, so you can see how it would step down, and then all the other accompanying fabrics would step down as well. Or perhaps I wanted undulating. Perhaps I want, let me go a little higher so that you can see. Suppose I want it to be undulating, so like a curve, come down here and then, come back up. All right, so I could have like a curve with my patterns. But I think I want to stagger, so I will show you what that looks like finally. Once you figure out your pattern, then you're going to have to snip the ends of some of these so that it makes a solid piece. So let me show you that. So now I have decided on this pattern of this brick pattern right here. Now, if you have more than one repeating pattern in your tube, make sure that they're turned the right way. In other words, I have this fabric here, but I also have it down at the other end. So make sure if you're trying to make this pattern that the black is on this side, the black is on that side, the black is on that side, the black is on that side, and the black is on that side. Because if you don't, then you're not going to get the pattern that you want throughout. Okay, so I have decided that this is the pattern I want. So I have also decided that this line here is where I'm going to make my first cut. So follow along and I'll show you how I make this fabric. Now this is the pattern I've chosen, but all the pieces are not going to line up exactly. I want the stagger pattern, but it's not going to continue through the whole thing because each one of these pieces that I cut were different widths. So it's not like everything was 4 inches wide and it will all line up. But that's part of the design of the bargello that I want. I want to have the colors staggered. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stitch these together. Now, if you want them to match exactly, then I would pin. If you want this to be exactly touching that, if you actually made your pieces the same width, then I would pin. But I did not. My pieces are all different lengths, so I kind of like this general thing, but it's probably going to look a little bit more like this all the way through than exactly like this. So it depends upon what your brain wants. So here is your bargello fabric that you can embellish, you can cut out crafts with, and make all sorts of things. I hope you found this video interesting. It's just a little glimpse. I think I'm going to put some ribbons on this. I'm going to cut it into different things. All right, happy Vlogmas.